Very fond memories of him here. Our next story tonight is about memories of my hometown, Southend. When recently a load of old movies turned up there, I went along to have a closer look. Love it or hate it, you can't ignore Southend. It's brash, colourful, and there's always something going on. Except if you're under 50, you're always being told just how good it was in the old days. Well, I've been given a chance to find out if that's really true. This unique footage of Southend was discovered by a builder in a cellar in the town. It's mostly shot between the late 40s and early 60s, a time when the town was booming. And that meant only one thing: the Kursaal.
Well, the Kursaal looks splendid as colours lit the dome, and the seafront was filled with sound. We took our partners through the double doors, off with our coats and on to the floor. We danced the foxtrot, the waltz and the jive. Howard Baker's big...
Southend musicians Chris Jones and Jack Forbes have met up with former newspaper editor Jim Worsdale to look back at the Kursaal's heyday.
In a ballroom by the side of the sea.
I think that was when they were putting the first sign up, Kursaal sign, yeah.
How many men does it take to put a sign up?
Yeah, I know.
By the dome it's known, you could see it from anywhere, couldn't you?
Yeah, you can really see that. Yeah, absolutely. Saturday night wasn't Saturday night unless you were at the Kursaal with the Howard Baker Band playing for the dance. Oh, it's beautiful. Lovely, lovely memories.
Great. Now back to
Kursaal Flower. Was it the Kursaal Cup?
That's the Kursaal
That's the
Cup.
Kursaal Cup.
The Kursaal
It's a
Cup.
small one.
It actually is a TV camera
It is a
there
TV
that was being
programme.
filmed, so I would say that was probably 6.5 special.
There was a theme song to that, Jack, wasn't it? How did it go?
Oh, yeah, 6-5 special coming down the line. The 6-5 special is right on time. Over the points, over the points, over the points. The 6-5 special at the station tonight.
Boy, look, on the drummer, Eric. That was Eric Delaney. Yeah, he was a crazy drumming man, wasn't he? But very, very famous, and he used to bring in huge crowds. It was the great courting ground of Southend-on-Sea for many, many generations.
Well, it's the place to meet every Saturday night.
Yeah.
These are the famous Kursaal Gardens.
Standard haircut, Jim.
Standard haircut,
Yeah, short back and
back and sides or basin
just
cut.
came out of the army, I expect.
Yeah.
Probably demobbed and came down to celebrate in Southend.
Oh, it's the old ice cream carts.
Ah,
Look at them.
A parade of ice cream
yeah,
carts.
they were absolutely new then, weren't they?
Sixpence.
Sixpence and ice cream, was it there? Yeah.
Trying to see some of these rides behind. Is this the Caterpillar? Yes,
That's the
there's
Caterpillar.
Famous Caterpillar ride. Yeah.
One of the oldest rides in the Kursaal.
Yeah, it was one of the originals. Yeah.
Look at the
They used to
hairstyles.
travel the world, you know, buying these rides for the Kursaal. You know, one of the great theme parks of its age.
The films also reflect on how the Kursaal's fortunes changed over the decades. In the 40s, the cash was rolling in, but by the 60s, the Kursaal was in decline. Even the famous Wall of Death was suffering. It's believed this unique collection of films was shot by one man, C.J. Morehouse, the third generation of his family to run the Kursaal empire. The carnival has always been the big social event in Southend, and Morehouse's film has captured a couple of its stars. Marion and Audrey were part of the Carnival Court of 1961, and we've brought them together for the first time in more than 40 years. Now, Marion, you and Audrey haven't seen each other since the halcyon days of 1961.
No.
How does it feel seeing her again and seeing this again?
Yes, it's a bit spooky seeing how young we were then, but it's grand. Oh, look at them, Audrey. It's the Hussars.
Well, they were a bit of fun, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
Now, Marion, I believe that in 1961 there was a bit of controversy over the Carnival Queen herself, is that right?
Yes, she went missing about 3 days before the carnival was due to start. Of course, there was big panic, obviously, with the officials, more than with us, but she turned up on the day, but it did make the Daily Mirror headlines, so I think it was a very good bit of publicity as well, so maybe that's what had something to do with it.
I just remember feeling very, very special because, well, I was one of 9 anyway, so I was really sort of left out a bit at home. So that week to me was extremely special. And just showing my children now, you know, the photos and sort of memorising back. It's strange, really, because I see those pictures and they don't feel like they're me.
Audrey, what's it like seeing Marion again after all these years?
Really lovely, very nice. I mean, it was a surprise because she doesn't look any different. I mean, we're all older, but, you know, her eyes and everything, she looks just the same.
Southend and the sea have always gone together, and these films capture that special relationship. In Morehouse's days, Southend still had a large fishing fleet, and as Commodore of the Thorpe Bay Yacht Club, sailing features strongly in his films. There's even a glimpse of another old Southend tradition, a police life-saving competition on the seafront. Now, what really brought back memories for me was seeing the images of the ship that used to be right here when I was a kid. It was a replica of the Golden Hind. Of course, you could argue all day about whether Southend was better in the good old days, but one thing's for certain, old Morehouse would have been very pleased indeed with Southend United's current run of success. At one time, he was a director at the club, and of course, he took his good old cine camera everywhere with him. So, tell me what we're seeing here.
This is a game, it's a cup replay against Wrexham. It's at the stadium, which is now a retail park in Southend.
So it's not where we are now?
No, it's not where we are now, and occasionally you can see glimpses of the lights around the back where the dogs would run, just over to the side there. And you can sometimes see, you get a brief glimpse of the big greyhound scoreboard behind the goals, and you can also see at the back there the houses behind the main stands. Southend are the team with the long white band down the front of their shirts, you can see here. Yeah. I think it's fascinating.
I mean, it's a bit of 50. Good Lord, it's not like a rugby. Oh, yeah.
So they did, as I said, they were real men. And look, and actually, if the goalkeeper was actually down, that really meant he was injured. I think it was a man's game in those days, and I'm not so certain now they're quite the same sort of men.
Did Southend win this match?
They did, actually, yes. They beat Wrexham. This is the replay in the Cup. They won 2-0.
Good old Southend.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they went on to play the famous Blackpool in the next round. This is the Southend players arriving for the cup match in Blackpool. They went up by train in those days, and Southend took 6,000 fans to the match. The players getting off the coach. There's Ted Hankey there, who was the Southend goalkeeper. Ted Hankey used to go to school with Stanley Matthews, who played for Blackpool in this game. And there's some of the mascots going around, in fact, going around on a donkey, which I suppose is very, very true to form for Blackpool, isn't it? The Blackpool donkey. He would have been down the beach in the afternoon.
Into the match now.
Into the match now. The most famous player for Blackpool of the day was Stanley Matthews, the wizard of the dribble. He's number 7 for Blackpool. Blackpool just scored there. A nice robust tackle yet again.
Yeah, that wouldn't be allowed now.
No, not really.
Is that a goal?
Looks like another goal there for Blackpool. Southend lost the game 4-0, unfortunately.
What?
But yeah, I know.
My Blues lost?
Unfortunately, yes.
I'm happy about that.
It wasn't known to happen in those days.
But how do you feel about looking at this old stuff?
It's really good to see. I've never seen Southend football of this age, so to be able to actually see the players in action, players that I've known the names of for many years, it's brilliant to actually see it.
I just couldn't get enough of watching this stuff. If you were there between the 40s and the 60s, it does seem that Southend was the place to be.